Our speaker this morning is Danie DeZart. Danie is a 4-year boarding student from Jackson, New Jersey. She's a member of the varsity girls soccer and squash teams. She's also the president of WOCA, co-chair of the Spiritual Life Committee, and vice president of Pottstown Cares. She's also the proud roommate of Sissy Jen. Danie.
How many of you know what first generation is? Some of you may have heard of this term, and some of you may have not, and some of you may identify one just like I do. I come from an Afro-Caribbean household where my mom is Jamaican and my dad is Haitian. Although my parents left their country several years ago, their customs that they had growing up are still heavily engraved in my childhood. My upbringing was filled with high expectations, unwavering discipline, and best of all, Jamaican. My parents often told me stories of times they traveled to America and had to work odd jobs and do various things just to stay on their feet. However, their culture and identity never wavered. Growing up in a predominantly white area, I wasn't new to microaggressions. For those of you who do not know what that is, microaggressions are everyday, subtle, intentional, or unintentional interactions or behaviors that communicate some sort of bias towards historically or marginalized groups. Although younger me had always been proud of my culture and was proud of the things that I could share, I felt myself beginning to get a little less proud as time went on. Something that I vividly remember was during my first week of middle school. Getting accustomed to the new environment, we did a lot of icebreakers to make people feel more comfortable. During this period, we were instructed by our teachers to say our name and our favorite food. A lot of people said similar things like mac and cheese and pizza, but when the question came to me, I said, "Hi, my name is Danie DeZart and my favorite food is oxtail." Although I wasn't met with nasty comments, and the faces and looks I received during that moment and for the rest of the period had already set enough. Although this was something small, I continued to have experiences such as this one. It made me feel a lot less confident about doing things that were a part of my identity. Whenever I was met with icebreakers like that again, I said something in line with what the rest of my peers had been saying, trying to fit the status quo. Whenever my friends asked to hang out, I would make excuses for saying that I had a family event, knowing that the weekends were the only time I had to be my true self. How many of you guys remember your first time arriving on campus? For me, I was filled with emotions. I was nervous about going to a different school in a different state during the height of the pandemic. But most of all, that anxiousness subsided when I saw those big banners that read "Welcome Home," and people ready to lend an extra hand. However, those first few days, as I began to get more familiar with the faces in my form, I came to the realization that amongst all the students, no one looked like me. I was the only black girl in my form. With this new knowledge, my timidness only heightened. I continued to hide who I was as a person, just like I did in middle school. I began to keep to myself, and it was easy to do so when interaction was so limited during the COVID year. So with this information, I stayed in my room during the weekends and didn't talk to anyone, feeling totally isolated and alone. Fast forward to my first day of Hill, where my tapestry of my story encountered an influential thread, Miss Hunter. As my advisor, a black admissions officer grappling with the challenges of multiple sclerosis, Miss Hunter became more than a guide. She became a testament to resilience and diversity. If anyone knew Miss Hunter, they would describe her as funny, sarcastic, and a little sassy. However, she knew how to make someone feel better. During one of our weekly debriefs, I told her I feared I wouldn't be able to make any friends because no one looks like me. She instilled with me the profound truth that diversity extends far beyond the surface. It encompasses all our unique experiences, belief systems, and individual journeys. I made a few friends, although we didn't hang out as often as most people did, mostly because of my fear to talk to them about things that made me me. During my fourth one year, with regulations lifting and masks beginning to come off, I realized that in order to make friends, I would need to be a little more outspoken. With the confidence gained through my sponsor and my parents, I began to have the courage to talk to people. It started by having small conversations with my neighbors my fourth one year. The conversations, like most, were initially awkward, not knowing much about each other's lives and experiences. but with time, I got the opportunity to learn a lot about them. I learned about where their families were from, what foods they ate, and what traditions they had. But it was different than most of the interactions I had prior. Although we didn't eat the exact same foods or do the exact same things, I finally felt like I had people to relate to. The experience that I had, they also shared, and for the first time in a long time, I felt seen. I was used to switching my behaviors all the time when I was at home versus when I was at school. I remember talking to a friend about the foods that my family ate, and instead of being met with criticism this time, I was met with an interest in her saying me too. It helped me realize that although we were different, in a lot of ways we were still similar in some. And that same curiosity that she had to learn about my life followed me as I began to learn about other people at Hill. I became so interested in finding out about different people's cultures and beliefs, because 9 out of 10 times we would end up having something in common. With this, I began to realize what Ms. Hunter meant when she said diversity extends beyond the surface. She was talking about what makes you, you. Today, I don't stand before you merely as a first-generation student navigating uncharted territories, but as an advocate for making deeper and more meaningful connections. Our experiences find their true richness in the stories we share and the connections we forge. As we enter this new year, I pose a challenge to each one of us. Reach out to someone you might not have connected with before, break free from preconceived notions, embrace the diversity that surrounds us, and weave a tapestry of connections that defines the true spirit of our community. Embracing diversity isn't just about tolerance. It's about genuine curiosity, a willingness to learn, and the beauty of shared experiences. As we navigate the complexities of our individual journeys, let us build bridges, fostering a community where everyone feels valued and heard. Thank you.